Okay, so you've sent us this special message to all voters in 2024, and wow, it's calling for a whole new Department of Technology in government, not even just federal, like state, counties, even local. So we're diving into what this really means, why should you care about this, and could this ever really happen?
You know what's really interesting about this is it taps into something really fundamental, this idea of government, of the people, by the people, for the people. They're going all the way back to Lincoln and the Gettysburg Address.
Mm.
They're saying this is the next frontier of democracy tech governance. It's a pretty bold move.
Yeah, and they're not being subtle about it, are they? Like this message, it's urgent. It's like they're saying, look, technology's everywhere. It's shaping our lives. We can't just let Silicon Valley decide our future. So they want a whole Department of Technology at every level of government.
Right, and they're saying that's the only way we can make sure tech benefits everyone, not just a select few.
And that's where this idea of the digital divide comes in. They're saying that access to tech, especially the internet, high-speed internet, isn't a luxury. It's a necessity.
Think about it. How can you participate in the economy, in education, even just healthcare, if you don't have decent internet?
It's true. It's true. And they give this really concrete example. Affordable broadband, especially in rural communities.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget sitting here, but there are a lot of people without reliable internet.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not just about getting people online, right? It's what they can do when they're there. Like, look at Estonia, South Korea. They've done amazing things with government broadband programs. It's transformative, not just for people, but for the whole economy. Imagine entire communities lifted out of poverty because now they can join the global digital economy. That's the scale we're talking about here.
It's a powerful thought. But here's where it gets really interesting to me, and I want to hear what you think about this. They want elected leaders for this new department. Like, imagine voting for your local head of technological advancement or something.
It's certainly a new idea, that's for sure. I mean, most government agencies, they're run by appointed officials, people with specific expertise. This is different. This is putting the power in the voters' hands. Now, whether that makes things better or just creates new problems, that's the real question.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't stop there. They want local offices everywhere, counties, towns, everything, all tailoring solutions to local needs. They even use this example of, like, traffic reducing smart lights. That's how hyperlocal they're thinking.
Yeah, and that's a great example of how this could really affect you every day. Imagine no more horrible traffic because the lights are optimized in real time. And that's just one small thing this kind of tech could do.
Okay, I'll admit that's pretty cool. But let's be real, coordinating this across federal, state, and local governments, that sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. It would be a huge undertaking. We're talking about getting different parts of the government to work together like they never have before. It's a big ask, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's so much potential for bureaucracy, for things to get bogged down. But on the other hand, the potential for innovation, for collaboration is huge.
It's like they want to create this whole new part of the government that's just focused on tech. But they're also thinking about big tech and all that, the power dynamics. They're saying this Department of Technology would be like a watchdog, keeping those tech giants in check.
Yeah, that's an important point. It's not like we're starting from scratch, right? We already have the FTC, the FCC, all these groups that are supposed to be protecting people.
Yeah.
When it comes to data privacy, monopolies, all that.
Right.
So the question is, how does this new department fit in? Is it going to work with these other groups, or are we talking about a big bureaucratic mess?
Yeah. And it's not like big tech is just going to sit back and let this happen, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of big tech, this message also talks about, like, public participation and transparency. Remember that whole department email thing?
Oh, yeah. It's like they want a direct line between citizens and this department.
Exactly.
I mean, we have town halls, public comments, all that traditional stuff. But this department email, it feels more immediate. Like, what if you could just email about a new AI law that worries you?
Right.
It's interesting, but would it actually work? That's the thing.
It's like they're imagining this constant feedback loop
Yeah.
where regular people are shaping tech policy. That's not how government usually works.
It's very different, yeah. Definitely not like the old days of sending the letter to your congressman and hoping for the best. Whether this much direct involvement is even possible or a good idea, that's up for debate.
Yeah,
And you have to think about misinformation, political agendas, all the things that mess up online discussions.
that's a really good point. It's easy to get caught up in how idealistic this all sounds. But actually making it happen, that's a whole different story. Okay, so we've got this idea of a Department of Technology, elected by the people, keeping big tech in line, working with local communities, and always getting feedback from citizens. That's a lot. And then there's how they end this message. It's all about unity, shared values. They even bring up Lincoln again.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic way to persuade people. Putting this in terms of American ideals, trying to get past the usual political fighting, appealing to a sense of, we're all in this together,
Right.
but will it work? Will it connect with voters? That's the big question.
Because even if everything we've talked about sounds good in theory, could this actually happen in the real world?
Well, let's just say it's going to be tough. Politically speaking, to create a whole new department, that takes a lot. You'd need Congress to pass laws, and there's going to be pushback. Other agencies might not want to lose power, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's the tech companies themselves. They might not be too happy about the government looking over their shoulder all the time.
So we've really gotten into the weeds here on this Department of Technology idea. But for everyone listening, the big question is like, okay, but what does this actually mean for me?
Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? Because this message, even if this specific thing never happens, it brings up something we should all be thinking about. I mean, technology is changing so fast, it's affecting everything. So do we just go along for the ride, or do we try to shape how it all turns out? And this message, it's really going back to that of the people, by the people, for the people idea. But instead of bridges and roads, it's about algorithms and AI and all that.
Yeah, like they're saying the future of democracy is tied to the future of technology. That's a big deal. But even if we agree with that, is a new department really enough? Like, is that the solution, or is it just one small part of a much bigger problem?
That is the million-dollar question. This message makes it sound pretty simple. But even if it worked perfectly, would it really be enough to handle all the complicated stuff? The ethical stuff, the economic stuff, I mean. We're talking about a world run by algorithms that we might not even understand.
Yeah, it's a lot. On the one hand, you've got this vision of tech that's more democratic, more fair. But on the other hand, there are all these potential problems, these huge challenges. And then the question of whether any politician would even try to do this.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so interesting, right? It feels like we're at a crossroads. The choices we make now as individuals, as a society, they're going to have a huge impact on the future.
It's true. It's true.
This message, it's just one idea, but it's making us have this conversation, and that's what we need right now.
So what are your big takeaways after all this? It's a lot to think about, but that's what the deep dive is all about. And here's something for you to think about. If this Department of Technology isn't the answer, what else should we be doing? What can each of us do to make sure tech makes everyone's life better? Those are the questions we hope you'll keep exploring. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.